listening to Not So Live from Asteroid G, Falling in Love for the Very First Time. I'm your host, Mike Finkelstein.
Your buddy Mike the Ghoul gonna slash his way into your heart, I think, too, right?
We both just recently decided to watch Hard Eyes separately. We don't live together.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just like, separately.
Yes.
So
yes.
we are coming to this review for a kind of Asteroid G movie night. Having not seen the movie together and not knowing what the other person is going to say. And I'm going to start first by saying I actually really enjoyed Hard Eyes for what it was.
I also enjoyed Hard Eyes to a degree for what it was, but was bored to death at times.
Okay, so here's the thing. I know there are reviews for this movie that have come out, and a lot of people, especially like just slasher movie fans, are bitching about this movie because it's not what they were expecting.
I thought that was the charm of it a little bit, to be honest, though.
They were hoping for a real slash movie. Maybe it was advertised wrong, or I don't know. I didn't watch trailers for it. I didn't even know this movie was out until you were like, "Hey, Hard Eyes is a horror movie." I'm like, "Okay, sure, fucking why not?"
Yeah.
I mean, all you have to say to get me to watch something is, "It's a horror movie." I go, "Oh,
yeah,
done."
Yeah, easy. Let's go.
The amount of horror bullshit I've watched in the last month, from like The House That Dripped Blood to The Torture Chamber of Dr. Sadism, which is a movie with a fantastic title that absolutely blows.
You got to deliver if you give me a title.
I know.
Like God,
what
damn,
a good
man.
fucking title.
That got me. I'm like, what is that? You hadn't talked about that.
Yeah,
okay, that's why it was fucking terrible.
It was terrible. From 1967, it's a German movie trying to be a Hammer horror film, and it is just so bad. But so all you had to say was Hard Eyes is a horror movie. I'm like, I'm in. I looked into it afterwards after watching the movie. And it's written by Christopher Landon, who did Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You and Freaky and My Best Friend's Exorcism, as well as like 8 of the 9 Paranormal Activities. The dude has horror movie cred, but he does seem to like his horror movie mashups.
Yes.
And I liked Happy Death Day for what it was. I liked Freaky for what it was. I like Hard Eyes for what it is, which is basically a romantic comedy where halfway in, people start dying.
Yeah. The parts of this movie that really hit strong, surprisingly, was the chemistry, I think, between the two main characters.
Yeah.
You get two people that are in a horror movie that are not fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Which is actually refreshing to a degree.
Yeah,
you know?
She's shown to have medical training, which is helpful.
Yep.
She's shown to, like, I think she has, like, even though they don't touch upon it, it's just, like, one of those subtle things. She has a martial arts dummy in her apartment for, like, just practicing. She shows it more than once that she's actually halfway capable at fighting. Not great, but, like, she's taken some self-defense classes, which is more than most dumb blondes in a slasher movie do.
Yes,
and then he's kind of the victim that she drags along from place to place, and he sucks. Like, he's a great character, and I like him, but, like, as far as being able to survive a slasher flick, he's dragged along by the final girl. That's the only reason he lives.
It's really kind of surprising. Like, when I saw it was him, I didn't realize it was him. I saw a trailer or two for this, but I didn't connect the dots of who he was till I saw him, and I was like, oh shit, it's the dude from Scream. Please tell me he bites it in this movie somehow, or he's the killer. One of these has to be true.
Oh, is it the brother? The twin
it's
brother?
The brother from Scream.
Oh, the guy with plot armor that we bitched about. I didn't even realize that was him.
That was him, and I was like, "Oh man, he is either going to be the bad guy in this, or he's going to bite it." And she survives, and I am here for it.
Yeah.
I want to see this dude get it.
His plot armor was still no. Well, but they do at least feint towards the idea that he could have been the killer, which I appreciated. That was good. No, and I recognized her. I've seen her in a few things. I just watched her a little while back in that 1980s time travel slasher flick, Totally Killer. That was on Amazon, and then she was also Dagger on Cloak and Dagger, the Hulu show from the Marvel Universe before Marvel started doing all their TV shows themselves.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay. So, I mean, I didn't much like her on Cloak and Dagger because the character was shittily written, but I like her as an actress, and she was fun here. I thought she was actually a lot of fun in this movie. I think my issue with the movie, if I have an issue, and we can go over the whole of the movie in general, I think it kind of drags a little near the end of the second act.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was about where it started losing me too. There were, in the beginning, it was much more romance comedy than I
Mm-hmm.
was anticipating, with some elements of death thrown in there.
The
And I
opening
was like, what?
sequence, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm like, and like, this is pretty cool. And then suddenly I think you realize you go like 20, 30 plus minutes before, like, I'm still just watching a romantic comedy and I'm starting to check out a little bit.
I mean, it's fair. They needed to do setup. They needed to, and they
Yeah,
commit to the setup, which I
yeah.
appreciate. And I think this is probably why people bitch, is because there's not
Mhm.
enough killing during the setup. Like, you needed some side characters getting off. They allude to the fact that 2 or 3 couples get killed, but you don't
Yeah,
see it. And
right.
I think I probably would have appreciated seeing those just to get
Yeah.
the kill count up a little and have some fun with it while Olivia. No, that's the actress's name, but fuck it. Olivia and the dude from Scream are figuring out
Yeah.
their shit and like going on a not date, but kind of a date or whatever.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
getting a little build up towards that probably would have been good.
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
romantic comedy aspect of it wasn't bad, and it is kind of, if you didn't get that opening act, that opening set of kills that I think they put in
Mhm.
there, it would have almost
Mhm.
felt like From Dusk Till Dawn or The Predator. You have
Mm.
couples just going on a date, and then suddenly out of nowhere, slasher killer.
Yeah.
So I think if you view it from the perspective of it's almost a Predator in that respect, I kind of like the film better. And then
Hmm.
action builds up and the horror builds, and it's good for a bit. It's the sequence where they're at the movie, the drive-in, and
Oh, okay.
there's all those people dying, but you
Yeah.
barely see anything and there's no gore. That's where I checked out for a little bit, because I'm like, you were so good about gore early on. That opening death, which I'm trying not hard not to spoil, is gory as
Mm.
hell, and I loved it.
Yeah, yeah,
And then they
yeah,
don't quite keep up with it until like the last act with the killer reveal, which
yeah,
it's a slasher flick. Don't be surprised there's a killer reveal. I don't even feel like that's a spoiler at this point, okay?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
genre's done this many times,
yeah.
and it pulls from a formula that's
Yeah.
not a secret.
No, no, no.
I hear you. Like you look forward almost in these movies to that. Like, I think back to like Freddy versus Jason, when
Mm-hmm.
Jason's going through the cornfield and just bodies are piling up
Yeah.
one after another, and there's like heads flying, arms flying, and like this
Yes.
killer's going through here and he's killing people, whatever. But you don't see a lot of it. To your point, like you're padding a death count at this point. I have no attachment to a lot of these characters, and I
No.
guess that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, you're right. Right around here, it started to lose me a little bit more as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like, if I don't much like slasher flicks that just pad the body count, I want
Yeah,
kills that I care about. But if you're gonna pad the body count, pad it with gore. Give
yeah,
us so much over the top blood that it makes the people like Sam Raimi and his team that made the Evil Dead movies go, "Whoa, that's a lot of gore right there. Oh my god!" Like,
yeah, yeah,
commit to it, because you either
yeah,
have to give us characters that we care about that die and you feel bad, or you give us so much gore that we laugh.
yeah.
There's two perspectives.
And you gave it to us at times. Like, some of
Yeah,
those kills were really fucking
yeah,
cool. There was
yeah.
some really gnarly shit in there, and like, some just like, oh, that was really fun to see. Oh, I like
Mm-hmm,
that right there. But like,
mm-hmm,
you didn't give me enough of it at
mm-hmm,
times, and the
mm-hmm.
movie feels like it had a bit of a conflict of identity, a little bit here and there at that point. Like,
Yeah.
a little too much into the romance, not enough of the horror. It felt imbalanced. Things they got well in the beginning that were working felt like they lost some balance around here in the middle.
And it's hard to know what causes that in a slasher flick. Like,
Yeah.
Scream changed the genre for
Hmm.
good and ill. On the one hand, it added metatextual commentary and added some good laughs and upped what kills could be like. Some of those kills, like Tatum implausibly dying in the garage door, is a good kill, even though it should never have happened.
Yes.
It implausibly dying, but at the same
Yes.
time, like it also introduced some things that you just don't get to have anymore. There's no more nudity in slasher flicks, which was a
Mhm.
key pillar of upping that R-rated count. The language is less coarse. Like, the violence has been muted some, and that also can be traced to Scream in the way that it did stuff. Past that
Yeah.
introductory scene where Drew Barrymore's blonde dies in the first act, there's
Mhm.
really barely any gore even in the movie, and it's bloodless almost. I enjoy it because it's a great metatextual movie, but it
Mhm.
does decrease the amount of blood that we get, and it's kind of sad. And
Yeah.
most slasher films stick to what Scream does. So it's almost like, from that perspective, the opening kills and the end movie kills, which are super gory,
Mhm.
are perhaps the only things that the creators felt comfortable doing because of Scream. Or maybe the MPAA said you can have these ones, but you can't have all the gore in the middle. You have to mute it down. Who knows? With all blood being CGI at this point,
Yeah.
like, you can never tell when they've removed some blood spouts or something from a film anymore. It all gets added in post. But
Hmm.
it does make it kind of draggy where you have this massacre that doesn't feel much of a massacre.
Yeah, it's a lack of balance
Yeah, yeah.
in the movie a little bit. Great highs and some pretty
Mhm.
down lows,
And I'm not saying that I was expecting people to get naked in this film, although I think there's like the chick in the van might, although you can't really see it.
I don't
But
think you can
like,
see anything.
I
Yeah,
don't think you can see
yeah.
anything. I'm not saying we need the nudity back. Not
Right.
always. Sometimes it's
Hmm.
fun to get a little puerile, like, entertainment from that. But
Yeah.
if you're not, like, if you're gonna try and find that balance, the big balance is give us more gore. You're not
Hmm.
showing us other things. You're decreasing certain things. Give us more gore just to make the
Hmm.
slasher more enjoyable. Because that's what we're here for. We're here for the fucking kills.
Yeah, yeah. It was
Yeah.
This was like a fun date night movie.
Mm-hmm.
If you or your girl, it really doesn't matter who's into roms and who's into horrors. Like this balanced it pretty well. But there were definitely some times where it felt a little off kilter,
Mm-hmm.
and there was some just like I didn't feel like I almost knew like when I saw, I'm not going to give away spoilers. Like I saw a character, I saw this person walk out, and I'm like, oh, you were from this franchise. I love seeing you. You're gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
You just feel it coming.
Mm-hmm.
You can almost see it. And there were some aversions in this where they tried to like play it off the misdirect. Is it the suitor to be, or is it not? But you could tell pretty early on that like, all right, it's not this guy, and they're just kind of in it together, and she's dragging him along in this like this journey, like you said earlier. So
Yes.
I don't know.
I do also have. I'm not going to spoil, but I
Mhm.
do have a little complaint about the killers that are revealed. If only because of the fact that the way it's set up in the movie, they're the only ones that can be the killers because they're basically the only named characters that are left alive.
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel like enough justification to make them the killers. There's no bond or identity with them that we necessarily care about, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. The one reveal, I was like, wait, who are you? I
Yeah.
had forgotten who
Yeah.
they were.
Yeah.
They're in the movie like a
20
minute
seconds.
or two.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not much.
it's not much. They're just a passing person, and then the other killer. There's a very convenient point of time when something happens, and you're like, oh, where'd they go? And then they
Yeah.
pop up later, and then oh, that was suspicious.
It's
Maybe.
pretty obvious. And it's also, if you start analyzing their background, again, not
Mhm.
spoiling anything. Because the
Yeah.
movie's only just came out last month, and I don't want to.
Mhm.
I don't want to be that guy for something that's this fresh.
Yeah.
But if you start analyzing their background and what we're supposed to know about them and how they're supposed to operate their day-to-day life, I just
Mhm.
don't even see how they can be a killer who goes from town to town killing people once a year. Like, people
Mhm.
around them should get suspicious that they just spontaneously disappear for a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like,
The appearance of hard eyes or
mhm,
HEK
very
or
cool.
heck or whatever they call it,
Mhm.
very cool looking, but you knew there was going to be multiples because
That's
there
just how it is.
always
There
is.
always
That's
is
the
now.
formula.
Yeah.
You can kind of see in the Scream movies when there's a different kill, you can kind of almost tell.
We were predicting that the last one, yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
neither one of these two revealed killers have the physique at all
To
to look
match.
like this
No,
person.
it's a cheat. Like,
Yeah,
the only killer that has it is the one dude that's actually like a
yeah,
red herring almost. So
yes, yeah.
it is a cheat, and I didn't like if they established that they had a special costume they were wearing and not just a mask or something. Maybe I
Yeah.
buy it a little more. The thing is,
Mhm.
like, it makes you almost wish that he was like some sort of undead kind of killer, like a Jason or something. The mask is so cool, and the
Yeah.
tech that's built into it seems really neat, which
Mhm.
again indicates someone. There are certain aspects of it that I really liked about the costume and the setup and the character idea, and that fact that he's specifically targeting couples is different from what you normally get in a slasher. Like, normally you wait for them to fuck and then kill them
Yeah.
instantly. And that happens once in this movie, but it's not like they just specifically target couples, but this dude's targeting couples, which I thought was interesting. I like the
Yeah.
idea, I like the MO, I like what's going on. But
Mhm.
it doesn't match the development of the characters we have, which, again, maybe speaks to this movie going through several recuts to try and get it to what the studio wanted, or what the MPAA wanted, or who the fuck knows exactly what happened in the editing floor. With all that said, it is entertaining for what it is.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. It had some fresh takes. It had some interesting thoughts. The concept of the killer, you thought, like you said, was really cool. The design was cool.
Yeah.
It looked like almost like, Riddler from the most recent Batman meets like, a high tech slasher, kind of the way the costume is, with almost like the gimpish mask and all that.
Yeah, with the
eyes.
It
was just really kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
And the dynamic between the two leads was very good.
Yes.
Usually that's lacking in movies like this, and that was very strong, which makes this movie, gave it some endearing qualities.
Sure.
But if you're going there thinking you're going to see, Happy Death Day again or My Bloody Valentine, you're not. You're going to get a different kind of movie, and if you go into that expecting it, then you can enjoy it. But I mean, there were just some things in this movie that didn't work for me entirely at the end of the day, but it was definitely a fun watch.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily disagree with you on that. I think that there were aspects that definitely could have been tightened. That another writing or two on it, or maybe just relaxing on trying to make sure that you get the perfect rating on the film or something. Maybe there's a director's cut they'll put out that fixes some of these issues. But it's similar grousing that I could make to like Happy Death Day, even. Like the movie walks up to a point and then seems a little too cowardly to walk past it. Like, again, not that I'm saying we necessarily need nudity in these films, but there's a sequence in Happy Death Day where the girl, our final girl who dies every day and starts to loop again, she gets fed up with everything and walks across campus naked. And we don't see any of it. We just see her from the shoulders up and then her reactions. And don't get me wrong, the actress who plays her is fantastic, and she does that right, and I'm sure she probably has some no nudity clause that's in there. So it's the thing of, I get what the scene was going for, but if you're going to do that in a slasher film, either commit to it or just don't put the sequence in. And I think either way is fine. I get what they're trying to do for the character, but again, you're walking up to a point, and then you're not carrying it the way you expect to get in an R-rated slasher flick. So this movie has the same problems in places. Most slasher films at this point have the same problem in places. I'm trying to think about the last time I had a slasher film I enjoyed wholeheartedly without any qualms, and it's hard to come up with one.
Yeah, I meant to give that one some thought too.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of them are fun for what they are, but like there hasn't been, a really memorable one that I can think of in the last like 10 years. That's
memorably bad.
Yeah.
There's definitely memorably bad ones. All the recent Halloweens, for example. I fucking hate all three of those. Oh my god.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. I mean, shout out to the studio though. This was a crisp, like, just
90.
over 90 minutes.
Yeah.
It was
Breezy.
a good length.
Yeah.
But this is another one of those movies, I think, to your point, like with the director's cut, maybe with like 10 extra minutes to maybe gain a little more attachment to some of these characters, to, feel, there was one character in particular I thought was going to bite it in this movie that didn't, which was kind of a breaking of, norms, I guess, in these movies. But, again, not spoiling, but I was surprised that they made it through. I guess that's fine. I guess I had a little bit of attachment to that person. But everybody else, I kind of just like, I mean, it was just fun to watch them die. I didn't feel any kind of like pain in watching them go.
And maybe in a director's cut, we get some of that gore added back in CGI just to sate that need. So, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. I liked it. I probably will end up buying it, but I buy everything anyway. So maybe that's not like a qualification.
Right.
But I guess my big thing is, if they did a sequel, I might watch it, but I don't know that I necessarily am hankering for a sequel.
It feels like they can. It feels like, one of those franchises that
Screamish.
That can spin off a little bit. Maybe we get like a one that ends up on Hulu, and if that does really well, then they try to make a third one. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like there's some staying power with it. It's a cool idea, but we'll see.
But unlike some, like there are some horror movies where I'm like, yeah, I need a sequel. This is not one of those, and I think that shows about where it's B tier slasher material for me. It's definitely not S tier.
No, definitely not. No.
Yeah. This has been Not So Live from Asteroid G, putting on our hard-eyed gimp masks and going to town. I'm your host, Mike Finkelstein.
Hey, your buddy Mike the Ghoul. Gonna head on out of here too, and I don't have anything clever to say right now.
We will see you all next time.